Determined to hunt down the terrifying ocean overlord, Vikir devises a reckless plan to reach the bottom of the toxic Black Sea by using a massive boulder as an anchor. Before diving, he tells the Baskerville triplets to watch for a specific signal on the water's surface and orders them to follow the plan exactly. The triplets salute him, promise to wait on the shore, and pray for his safe return. Vikir grips the heavy rope, throws the huge boulder high into the air with incredible strength, bids them farewell, and follows it into the sky. Watching from the shore, one triplet sweats at the madness of the plan but realizes that this is exactly why Vikir is their lord, because he always does the impossible. The boulder crashes into the sea, and the pitch-black water swallows Vikir as he enters the beast's unknown territory. Pulled into the abyss, he sinks rapidly while the system countdown begins. He calculates that although he could only stay underwater for 7 minutes in his previous life, his improved stats now let him survive for 2 hours. Even though sinking like a stone is a rough method, it is the fastest way to avoid the dangerous currents and reach the monster. As they descend, an anxious Decarabia warns that even ancient demons know almost nothing about the Shadowless King and suggests using blood to lure it to the surface like dogma. Vikir rejects the idea, knowing the clever creature will not fall for such a trick because it already ignored Hellhound bait and only appeared earlier due to hunger. With only 5 hours left on the system timer, they cannot wait for it to become hungry again. Vikir plans to exploit the beast's giant tentacles and its likely sensitivity to bright light, but the crushing pressure stops him from changing weapons with his dimensional ring, and using mana is extremely difficult. Decarabia panics, says he does not want to drown, and desperately hopes the plan succeeds. Vikir tells him to stay quiet and focus because he is there to help. The boulder finally lands on the seabed. Standing in complete darkness, Vikir tells Decarabia to prepare. The pendant's single eye shines with a bright red light, revealing a horrifying sight. While Decarabia proudly boasts about lighting up the deep sea, the light exposes a giant graveyard where thousands of skeletons cover the ocean floor. Vikir notices that the strange skeletons are twisted mixtures of humans and insects. Decarabia concludes they are the original people of this world, who once lived on the web-covered forest island and were likely trapped by the same system in a deadly survival game they failed to survive. Vikir then spots Dogma's mutated demon skull drifting nearby. He briefly wonders if Dogma survived but dismisses the thought because he knows the boss was completely destroyed. Drawing his glowing sword, Vikir warns Decarabia to stay alert because the skull is held by a huge predator hiding in the darkness. A giant glowing blue creature slowly appears, revealing itself as a colossal brain-shaped deep-sea jellyfish. Vikir instantly recognizes it as the Shadowless King, the ultimate disaster of the 4th floor. The battle begins immediately as the monster swings a massive tentacle that smashes huge underwater rock pillars before launching countless heavy attacks that destroy the seabed. Using his great agility, Vikir swims through the water and avoids every strike, knowing a single direct hit would kill him. When another tentacle attacks, Decarabia screams in fear, but Vikir calmly cuts it in half with one precise slash. He notices the severed limb does not regenerate, proving his theory correct. His Beelzebub gauntlet has absorbed an S-rank core and gained the passive skill Extreme Drought, allowing him to dry the monster's wounds and stop its regeneration. The effect works perfectly, leaving the giant beast badly weakened. Confident of victory, Vikir prepares the finishing blow. Feeling its limbs rot away, the frightened Shadowless King wraps its remaining tentacles around its exposed core and gathers enormous mana, sending violent shockwaves through the deep sea. Decarabia nervously wonders what attack it is preparing. The S-rank boss spins its huge body like an underwater turbine, violently controlling the ocean current. Knowing he will be swept away, Vikir drives his sword into the seabed to anchor himself. The resulting vortex is so powerful that it creates lightning storms and giant whirlpools visible from the surface, making the triplets scream in terror. Vikir then watches in shock as 2 enormous underwater tornadoes appear before him. The Shadowless King creates a devastating storm that throws the sea into chaos. Decarabia realizes the monster is like a god in its own territory. Vikir keeps his sword buried in the seabed and braces for the impact. Decarabia desperately warns that even Vikir's durability cannot survive such an attack and begs him to retreat, but Vikir says it is already too late. He pours half of his remaining mana into Decarabia and orders him to create a barrier. Calling Vikir completely insane, Decarabia quickly raises a huge red magic shield just before the violent current crashes into them. The powerful vortex slams against the barrier, threatening to tear everything apart. Decarabia cheers as the front of the shield holds, but his relief disappears when several sharp attacks suddenly pierce through Vikir's back. The giant jellyfish glows darkly before suddenly freezing in total paralysis. Decarabia stares in shock as the terrifying monster becomes completely motionless. Smiling confidently, Vikir mockingly asks the Shadowless King how it likes his counterattack. He reveals that he has planned this from the start by using the deadly S-rank poison of Madame Eightlegs. The system confirms through his Beelzebub gauntlet that by allowing the monster to stab him, he infects it with the deadliest poison from the surface world. As the toxin spreads through its body, Vikir unleashes countless sword strikes that tear the giant monster apart from the inside out. He then fires a barrage of aura-filled seeds that pierce deep into the jellyfish and strike its core with tremendous force. Although this seems like the perfect chance to kill it, Vikir realizes the crushing water pressure greatly weakens his strength compared to fighting on land. He knows that if the battle drags on, he will run out of air and stamina long before the monster dies. To make matters worse, the giant jellyfish suddenly begins moving again. Decarabia panics as he realizes the poison's paralysis lasts only briefly, and the monster is already waking up. Putting survival first, Vikir decides to retreat and swims quickly toward the surface. He believes that if they escape the dark depths before the beast recovers, they can live and fight another day. However, the Shadowless King does not let them escape easily. The monster suddenly releases a massive electrical attack, filling the dark water with crackling energy. Completely caught off guard, Vikir and Decarabia can only watch in shock. A powerful electric current spreads through the water, electrocuting Vikir and ignoring his strong physical defenses. Decarabia panics and shouts Vikir's name while Vikir blames himself, realizing he underestimates the monster by not expecting such a powerful elemental attack. As he floats in the water, one of the rare blood lily seeds he collects on the previous floor slips out, putting his real plan into action. He remembers explaining this strategy to the triplets at their camp after defeating the S-rank plant monster. They are shocked when he shows them the handful of seeds and realizes he keeps them for a special purpose. Vikir explains that the plant has a unique biology because its gas sacs naturally contain a very light, highly flammable gas that allows it to float. Since the monster grows in the dry wasteland of the previous floor, those gas sacs never fully develop. But in the deep waters of the Black Sea, the seeds absorb water and grow into huge floating gas sacs. Knowing they cannot win a long battle at the bottom of the sea, Vikir says their real goal is to pull the Shadowless King out of the water. By planting the seeds directly inside the monster during the fight, he plans to make the gas sacs grow within its body and lift it to the surface. Back in the present, his plan works perfectly as the planted seeds sprout inside the paralyzed beast, rapidly expanding into enormous gas sacs. Decarabia cheers after realizing Vikir's risky plan succeeds as the powerful floating force begins pulling the giant monster upward. Vikir grabs Decarabia tightly and rides the rising seed, calmly saying that it is time for them to return to the surface as well. He holds onto the seed until he finally breaks through the stormy surface of the Black Sea and gasps for air. A huge dark shadow rises beneath the water as the ocean overlord is dragged from its deep-sea home. After catching his breath, Vikir warns Decarabia that the monster is about to appear. Right on time, the giant brain-like creature bursts out of the water, covered with swollen gas sacs. Seeing it finally reach the surface, Vikir orders the triplets to take their positions and prepare for their only chance to win. Struggling under the heavy weight, the three brothers hold a giant wooden spear wrapped in leather, its tip burning with bright oil-fed flames. Earlier, Vikir tells them to carve a large spear from dead trees, tie on a fuse, and soak the tip in flammable hellhound oil so the fire keeps burning even in heavy rain. At first, they are shocked by the plan and sweat nervously after realizing they must throw it at the exact moment the monster appears. Vikir warns them to throw the giant burning spear with all their strength into the flammable gas sacs because it is their only chance to kill the beast. Now the triplets push their bodies beyond their limit. One brother's nose bleeds from the strain, but he says this throw is nothing compared to their brutal Baskerville training. Remembering how their master easily throws a massive boulder with only a small part of his strength, he becomes even more determined to follow Vikir's command perfectly. Using every bit of strength left, the three brothers scream together and launch the giant flaming spear high into the stormy sky. The huge weapon curves downward with deadly accuracy, flying straight toward the swollen gas sacs of the giant jellyfish. But as it nears the target, one brother panics after seeing the monster's moving tentacles about to block the spear. Expecting this, Vikir leaps from the water and catches the giant spear in midair. Holding the burning weapon, he fills it with his dark crimson aura for the final attack. He drives the flaming spear downward, easily cuts through the blocking tentacles, and stabs it into the flammable gas sac. A massive explosion follows, instantly vaporizing the giant S-rank monster. From the shore, the exhausted Baskerville triplets silently watch the explosion, crying with relief and amazement as they praise their lord. With a towering pillar of fire behind him, Vikir calmly walks out of the dark waves onto the sandy shore, victorious once again. Immediately, the system announces that the level 1 warrior Vikir becomes the first person to hunt the S-rank Calamity, the shadowless king of the Black Sea, and rewards him with a legendary prize for accomplishing the impossible.